Alright, so in today's video, I'll be showing you how to increase bass performance of any speakers, from tiny earphones to party speakers. So let's dive right into it. Before we go ahead, you need to know some basic terms that I'll be using throughout the video. Copper coil or voice coil. It's a thin, lightweight coil that vibrates when electric current is passed through it, and its vibrations are passed onto the speaker diaphragm that results in an audible sound. Speaker diaphragm. It's a thin, lightweight membrane that wobbles with the voice coil and produces sound. Frequency. It is just the number of times the speaker goes back and forth per second. Eardrums. These are your internal microphones located inside your ears. Subwoofer. It's a giant speaker that is designed only for bass. Spider. It's like another diaphragm, but it's not there for sound production, but instead it's there for the stability of the voice coil. Now to start off, let us first understand what exactly is bass and how does it work. Unlike other sounds that's not bass, the singer's voice perhaps, bass is less like a sound that can be heard, but instead it's more like a sort of deep wave that can be felt. When not bass sounds is played, the copper coil vibrates with the same frequency as that of the input signal, which is responsible for the movement in the speaker diaphragm that produces the sound. The rigidity of the diaphragm does not matter because it mostly stays in the same place and not travel too much. Bass, on the other hand, is a lot harder to pick up in appreciable quantities. If the diaphragm is rigid and takes a lot of force to move, the speaker is likely to have a lower bass performance. So, hacks are used to either make the speaker move over large distance or to implement spatial locking that I'll come to in a minute. Larger speaker diaphragm movement is important as it directly results in a lot of air movement, since most of it just ends up being lost and absorbed in the surroundings and gets wasted. So, with the basics cleared out of the way, we are finally eligible to discuss how to increase the bass of any speaker. Now, there are two scenarios possible. Scenario 1, the bass is being produced but its loudness is not up to the mark. In this case, I highly recommend using an equalizer. It's basically a tool that adjusts the volume of different frequencies individually. Use it to increase the volume of only bass frequencies, while keeping or even lowering other frequencies volume, as it is mostly safe at lower volumes. In headphones, implementing spatial locking, that is a word that I just made up, meaning the exact position of your eardrum is locked to the exact position of the speaker diaphragm, that is, both are in absolute sync with each other. In fact, that's exactly what you're doing when you press your headphone against your ears. Not recommended by a health point of view though. Now, in order for this to work, the air between your eardrums and speaker diaphragm should be sealed. Air should effectively be trapped in there. Different headphones are built differently, so do what works out the best for you. Just remember, airtight containment. Try sealing all the open spouts in the passage of your eardrum and the speaker diaphragm. It can appear mostly in the speaker housing or the point where your earphones connect to you. Once completed, you can confirm that the air is literally trapped in there by slightly pressing the headphone against your ears. You should experience a slight pressure difference in your ears, like what you experience in an airplane landing, mountain climbing, or scuba diving for a second or two, while simultaneously hearing the sound of your diaphragm being crushed. Hey, chill! It's not being crushed as such, but instead being pressed by the sealed air. Success! In larger speakers, having a subwoofer with a passive bass radiator, or better, having a reflex port that pushes more air through smaller openings, would do the trick. More air will be pushed back and forth than the speaker itself could normally do. Scenario 2. The bass sound itself is not getting produced on the speaker side in good amounts. Maybe the speaker diaphragm is too rigid. So we are going to cut it. Remember that in order to achieve bass, larger speaker travel distance is a must. Now gently press your speaker diaphragm all the way in and note how much effort does it take for you to get it all the way in. Also note how much total distance does it go in. Yours travel a fair bit, but takes too much effort to even move. You are on the right track. One way of reducing this rigidity is to cut the diaphragm and make holes all around the edges of the diaphragm. Now you might ask, if we need to have an airtight seal, why are we puncturing holes in the diaphragm? I'm glad you asked. No, you didn't? I'll answer anyways. We are doing both, reducing rigidity and making the airtight seal. Do not make the diaphragm too weak such that the voice coil starts moving side to side, touching the magnets where it's not supposed to. But wait, if your speaker has this part called spider, start cutting it first, and please be ultra careful. Do not cut the leads that connect to the voice coil, or else the speaker won't work. Now, you need to cover up the holes that you just cut in the diaphragm in order for spatial locking to work, or even just to not have any air leaks. Note, you need not cover up the holes on the spider as it does not produce any sound. Cover the holes by using some flexible and thin airtight material. Using latex balloon for this application would be ideal. And be careful, do not add too much weight on the diaphragm or else you would be impairing its ability to move. You can picture this as a paper plane that can easily fly with the force of your hand as opposed to a passenger jet. Being lightweight is important as the coil that I mentioned earlier doesn't do a great job of delivering a lot of force on the diaphragm, except for subwoofers that have very powerful coils and magnets. If everything is done correctly, making the speaker driver less rigid to larger movements without adding too much weight in there and not leaving a single spot on the driver, you will end up with a speaker having an improved bass performance than before. I can actually say that I have read all the comments without even checking the comments. So, to prove me wrong, comment your feedbacks, thoughts, suggestions, additions, anything about the topic down below. Very appreciated. And if you watched all the way up till here, please consider subscribing. Thanks in advance.
Wastelands through the highways, and